I did some digging around, so you didn't have to, but there's a couple ways to pronounce this. It's either Fiio or Fiio. These guys right here. They just made something I thought I didn't need, but now I can't seem to live without. And this right here is the Fiio R7 AIO all-in-one. It's a desktop DAC media streamer that has a bloody unlocked Android phone on the front of it. And yes, you can stream your high-res Apple Music, Deezer, or even Rune collection to almost any device imaginable in your house. But you can also watch your favorite YouTuber on this thing, or have a go at Asphalt 9 if you wanted to. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, guys, and it's a pretty compact iceberg at that. So if you're ready, let's chat about what exactly is the R7, what's so special about it or not, and whether you should buy one. You should. And don't forget to like and subscribe because, this fella's got to eat. Let's do it. The Fiio R7 comes in two colorways. There's black, which is this one, as well as white, which is really nice, and it matches the snow outside my window right now. In the business end of things, there's a Snapdragon 660 doing all the grunt work, and I think it's just the right amount of processing for this kind of application. Central Music Hub, decoder, streamer, and all that. You just don't bother with like AAA games, and you'll be fine. And yes, you can basically throw at anything at it, as long as you know the limits of the Qualcomm chipset, as well as the really tiny 4 gigs of RAM. And in terms of internal usage or usable storage, it's 46 gigabytes. It comes with 65, but what you get after everything all in is 46 gigs. I think you can see through the window right there, there is dual THX AAA 788 Plus headphone amps, which basically gives the R7 the ability to power pretty much any headphone out there on the market with, get this, 3.6 watts of power. That's a lot, my goodness. Now at the front here, there are 3 ports. There's the 6.4 millimeter, the 4.4 balance in the middle, and the 4-pin XLR balance. And there's even an included, where is it at? A modesty cover if you prefer not to expose any of your holes right there. And there you go. Over in the rear, and hang on to your pants guys, there's a lot to cover here, and I'll start right here in the middle. There's an SD card slot for expansion up to 2 terabytes, and they also included a micro SD adapter in the box. 2 sets of RCA outs on the left here. Below that is double 3-pin XLR balance outs. In the middle at the bottom is Ethernet, and above that is optical in and out, coax in and out. Above that is the USB-A port that you can connect external drives, keyboards, hubs, external decoders, and so on. And above that is the USB-C that supports data transfer, external USB DACs, and also serves as a display port out. So you can basically hook the R7 up to a TV or external monitor. The only thing missing in terms of ports are HDMI and a dedicated subwoofer out, in my opinion. This module right here holds the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.0 antennas. And basically, by the way, the Bluetooth 5.0 handles AAC, SBC, aptX, HD, LDAC, and LDAC protocols. They all support it. The R7, this one is pretty interesting right here. The R7 is powered by, right here, the standard AC power, but you can switch it also to DC input mode by flicking this switch right here. Like if you have a power conditioner, for, supposedly better sound quality. The display is a 5-inch LCD panel diagonal with some pretty good maximum nits, and below that is the capacitive navigation buttons. And if you choose to eschew that and just use the screen for navigation, you can option that as well. There are 2 buttons on the right here, power button, volume knob together, and both of these are knurled. Really nice action, really nice in the hand. It almost feels like an expensive Lexus or something. Below this is the output control knob, where you can switch for both preamp and headphones to run at the same time, or headphones or preamp alone, so on and so forth. The weight on this thing is 1.3 kilograms. It stays solid on the desk, but it's also light enough to take with you on the road if you like to. So, they really did this really well. In the box comes a pretty good selection of accessories, and notable is a couple of versions of caps to cover your front ports, either just the XLR or the whole thing altogether, and a couple of wedges that you can angle this device to whatever angle you want on your desk, and they're really solid. Listen to that, that's like solid rubber or something, so they didn't cheap out on that thing. The R7 runs full-on Android 10 with some tweaks that set it apart from your usual Android phone experience. Now, out of the box, this AIO is pretty much like ready to connect with your music streaming services. It comes pre-installed with many of them, but don't worry if it's not there. You have this right here. Check it out. Google Play Store, and also the ability to sideload APKs, guys. So the sky is the limit. Now, controlling media, let me pull up Auto Player right here. It's very simple. Just like your phone, you use the touchscreen, of course, via individual apps. But Fiio also added some system-wide functions and features to make the whole user experience more audio-centric. For example, turning the volume knob reveals an on-screen volume gauge. You can use it as a touchscreen as well. But if this is too in your face, you can switch to a smaller overlay as well. The R7 also gives us the old school Android capacitive navigation button trio on the front panel at the bottom there, but you can turn that off and just use gestures on the screen like you would with a modern Android phone. But also you can reassign these to specifically control playback. So in this case, right now media is playing. If I press home, it stops and starts media. If I go back, it goes back one track. And Reason app button right here does the skip function as well. And in case you're wondering why I'm totally ghettoing this whole thing with the camera recording the screen instead of my usual recording the screen on the device itself, well, the chipset on this just can't handle multiple things. The video was choppy and I just gave up on it. So that's why we're here. We're ghettoing this, guys. Now, since the R7 is a headphone amp, and a really good one at that, there are 5 built-in gain boost settings that you can access from the top right there. You scroll it down, and there's low all the way to ultra high. So basically, if you have headphones that are hard to drive, ultra high is the way to go, and this thing has the power to do it. If you have IEMs, go low if you want to. It's your choice, guys, and this thing has the hardware to do it. The two knobs at the front here, they glow in different colors that match specific file sampling rates. You can also turn on one at the top right here on the notification bar. So like blue is 48 kilohertz, yellow is 96 kilohertz, so on and so forth. The illumination pulse can also be customized. So right now it's at steady state. You can do it like breathing or off altogether, which you can access from settings. Now, keen-eared viewers might have heard me say 96 kilohertz, and now you're going to say, hold on, Aaron, how can Android devices send, honest to goodness, anything higher than 48 kilohertz in the first place? Well, one really crucial bit here is that Fio's version of Android lifts the restrictive SRC that caps sampling rates at 48 kilohertz. So it's a major win there, ensuring that your bit-perfect files are unadulterated on their way out to your audio devices, which is nice. For those of you wishing for means to control the R7 remotely, and I'll seriously say that that's a really important, crucial aspect of the R7 ownership experience, but you don't want to necessarily spend $25 extra on the remote accessory itself, or if you're at a pinch, the latest Fiio update turns the phone into a remote through the FioCast app on the R7 and Fiio Connect on the phone itself. So it basically works as a mirrored instance of the R7 screen on the app itself. So if I tap casting once it's paired, you see that this screen will show up there. And let me hope that this shows up on the camera itself. The latency is not bad, right? It's actually kind of helps me forgive the fact that Fiio didn't include a real remote with the R7 in the first place, right? Anyways, it's pretty good, at least it's there. I like that the R7 produces a mostly neutral sound signature with a slight push in the mids and treble that come across as clean and forward. And because the mid-range and highs are so transparent, things like imaging, which is the ability of the listener to pinpoint individual elements in musical space, is quite impressive. Now, lows is flexible and full-bodied, giving you plenty of punch and precision where it counts, especially in the mid-bass. I am slightly bummed that the mids feel slightly lifeless. Well, actually, that's not the proper word. Slightly sterile is what I'm looking for. And that's only because things that live in that region, like guitars, violins, and vocals, are clean and tidy, and it's almost analytical to a fault. Just like a clean room, hence, the poor analogy on my part. Treble is also clear. It's energetic and detailed, but it dials it back just right before things get a little bit too bright. I think it could have used maybe a little bit more detail here, but for the price, I can definitely forgive that. And let's not forget the big picture here, guys. The R7 can do this all day, piping its balanced sound signature to pretty much all connected device and configurations in your home without even skipping a beat. And this is thanks in part to the immense power and breadth of connectivity on tap, as we saw earlier. So thumbs up, Fiio, or Fiio. right, this time we have the speakers connected to the T5 subwoofer. Let's test it again. It's 50%. Most streamer amps out there have this almost predictable rectangular flat cable box kind of shape to them. I have nothing against that. It's just that when you look at the R7, I mean, just look at it. This vertical orientation immediately gives off this mini ITX PC tower vibe, doesn't it? And it also takes a while to get around seeing a vertical display on your DAC amp. But when you stop and think about it, portrait mode totally makes sense because we're already used to managing and controlling and consuming media that way on our phones. Build quality on this thing is impressively solid, even for a Fiio product. For example, the volume knob has this nice expensive action to it, and I particularly like the grill on this side that gives a little peekaboo view of the DAC and THX amp chips inside. And I think Fiio in this case could have done like one better and made some kind of subtle internal lighting to show things off a little bit more, because just look how bloody nice the innards are. They really put some thought into it. For the price of entry on this thing, the what would otherwise be a $25 remote should have been included in the first place. Because the way Fiio has set this whole thing up as an all-in-one device, remote control is honestly an essential part of the whole user experience. And yes, there's the whole cast app thing that you can use, but I'm quite sure some users out there don't want to install another app. And personally, I prefer the immediacy and ease of a proper dedicated remote. This next one is really a small ask, and it's really not that hard to implement if they wanted to. So, Fiio, can you please push an update to give us landscape orientation for the display itself? Because I've been wanting to lay the R7 on its side like this, and the only rotate option in the settings is a complete 180 from the normal portrait orientation, which means it is upside down. What's the point in that? An even smaller niggle is the lack of security updates for Android 10, which this thing has and will never be updated to a higher version. And I'm bringing this up only because I know some of you are going to ask about it, but personally, I don't see it as a major concern, even like years down the line, as long as you're not one of those who frequently install apps from unverified sources. Oh wait, that's me. So the question to ask here is, who is the R7 for really? I mean, surely it is not snobby enough to fit into listening chambers filled with NAD or Naim or KEF hardware, because audiophiles love to have separate things for separate jobs, right? You know who you are, yes. And if they had to unify, they'll probably go for something higher end like the NAD C700 or the Hi-Fi Rose RS520, for example. But still, what happens when something comes along claiming to do almost all of the same things for a fraction of the cost? Something that sounded great combined with some seriously OP hardware internally, had all the connectivity and customization options you could possibly think of, including Rune support, for crying out loud. And this is the last one, this last one is really important, along with the OS flexibility of Android, so you're not locked into a baked-in OS. You basically get this, one of the most versatile all-in-one headphone speaker amps, streamer, decoder, jukebox, and media hub in a fancy little box. And it's cheap enough to mess around with. You can take it with you on trips to connect with whatever you like, as long as there's no like HDMI involved. It's just one of those audio devices that I'll be proud and happy to display and use as a centerpiece at home as much as on the road. Oh, I needed that. That was a lot of talking. Thank you for sitting through this. I could have gone on and on for this because this thing is so complex and there's so much to go through. Yeah, you should check it out if you really want to. The links are down below, by the way. And if you like what I do, guys, remember to subscribe and like to this video. Check out the comments below also. Be part of the conversation. Say hi, and I'll try to say hi back as well. You can join me on the YouTube membership as well as on Patreon if you like to see full-on sound demos on these and all the hardware that I test as well. And remember to do something loving and kind for somebody in this world, guys, because guess what? If you haven't seen the news, the world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. I love you all very much. Peace out, and God bless.